years of the best sports talk in Middle Tennessee, featuring Tennessee Radio Hall of Famer George Plaster, Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame coach Watson Brown, and Young Guns Billy Derrick. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
Hello again, everybody. Welcome in. It is a beautiful Tuesday in Nashville, Tennessee. The weather is fabulous. We have reached the start of August, which is a little bit shocking. Wow. Okay, so most of you know the Fordyce Center in Bellevue is where we do our show. These are our brand new digs, and we're proud to be out here. And thrilled that we were able to make this work. We want to be a little bit of a good community partner out here in Bellevue. And with that in mind, I've asked Hattie DeWalt, who is the executive director of the Bellevue Chamber of Commerce, to join us here at our broadcast site. Hattie, wave to me. So tell me about the big event tonight.
George, tonight we are hosting the second National Night Out at Red Caboose Park. Previously, it was in the Sylvan Park area, and we were approached by the West Precinct Police Department to be the presenting sponsor behind this. The Chamber, the Bellevue Community Foundation, and all of the first responders of this area will be in attendance. By first responders, that includes the police department, the fire department, the State Highway Patrol, the bomb robot that I want to take home and train to be a housekeeper. I think it would be a great idea. Yeah. And we have pizza that will be given away to everyone. We have Kona ice that will be given away. We have water. Beyond that, what we want to do is entertain the families of Bellevue. We're an extremely diverse community, and this particular event brings out lots of our families. It doesn't cost them anything. It is a feeling of camaraderie. It gives children an opportunity to touch and feel the first responders and allay any fears that they may have. That's the whole objective. This is done all over the country.
What time to what time?
It's 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Red Caboose Park, right here in Bellevue.
So if somebody is hearing this for the first time, they just simply show up.
Exactly. That's what we want them to do, is just show up, come in, have a great time, get a bite to eat, meet all of these first responders, and maybe a few of your neighbors.
Absolutely. By the way, you do a great job running the Bellevue Chamber. You all have been at a couple of the sports speaker series events that we've put on, and we really appreciate that. Have enjoyed in these, whatever it's been, 5-6 months, the relationship. It's awesome.
Well, we appreciate you, George. It's nice to have you right in the heart of Bellevue. It's where you belong, and we embrace you warmly.
Well, you know, and I feel that, and this is where this show belongs. This is a beautiful facility.
It is.
Thrilled to be a part of it. So again, repeat it one more time if somebody's just joining in.
High-level details. Location, Red Caboose Park. Admission, free. Audience, everyone in the entire community. The objective, National Night Out, celebrated locally with every other major city in the country, allowing first responders and our neighborhoods to meet one another on neutral territory grounds.
Beautiful. I love it. It's a great idea, by the way.
Thank you.
Hattie, thanks for coming over here.
Anytime.
Hattie DeWalt, Executive Director of the Bellevue Chamber of Commerce, and we thank her for joining us. Guess what is next? As of yesterday, it's our daily Titans update with Terry McCormick, and that update is brought to you by Lori Leland. She wants to be your mortgage lady, serving Tennessee and Alabama at area code 615-969-4350. There is Terry McCormick. By the way, Terry, if you listen to the award-winning update here in a couple of minutes, big trade just went down.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Does it involve my team?
No. No, it does not. However, it involves a team you hate. The Disastros.
Nice.
Yes. But enough of that. It'll force you to stick around afterwards to hear what's what. So, what's what? Tell me what went on today out at the Titans.
Well, George, another padded practice, second day in a row for that. And today was what they call an unscripted day, where they just kind of put it out there, put the offense and the defense out there. They're not running off the cards and the scripted plays and the things that normally would go on in a lot of practices. They just kind of put out there and say, okay, let's go with the situation. A ball, a pass goes 5 yards. They move the ball 5 yards and play just like you would in a regular football scrimmage or game. And so it was interesting because Will Levis, who had a really good day yesterday, got a little work with the twos today as well as the threes. So when he got his time with the twos, he actually looked pretty good. There was one ball that was underthrown, but it was still caught by Reggie Roberson. But there were a couple of darts that he completed on that drive and certainly looked the part as he continues to build his resume toward being an NFL quarterback.
Well, there's no doubt from his Kentucky days, he's got a cannon. Nobody has ever really questioned that part of it. Terry, who else kind of shined today that we need to know about?
Reggie Roberson, who I mentioned before, had a really good day catching the football. Also threw a nice block on a little flare pass to Racey McMath that sprung him for a big gain. The defense got the better of the offense a lot. This offensive line still has some issues, George. The defense seemed to really get in after the quarterback a lot today. There were several plays that would have been marked as sacks. There was one play where Tyjae Spears made a nice block to pick up a blitzer on Amani Hooker that allowed Tannehill to go ahead and make a completion. And then a little bit later, one play after Azeez Al-Shaair got called for a horse collar tackle on Traylon Burks, the next play, he leveled Tyjae Spears and forced a fumble. So big day for him, both the good and the bad. Interesting too, George. Mike Vrabel's punishment for guys who push and shove and fight in practice is to be banished to the sand pit where you have to run in there with your full uniform on. And believe it or not, that happened very early in practice to Jeffrey Simmons and to Jamarco Jones today. So they got to sit out most of practice and run on the beach, shall we say.
I don't think a Vrabel training camp is on the bucket list of many NFL players.
Probably not. But I'll say this. If I'm Jeffrey Simmons, I might look at him and go, really? Are you aware that you need me more than I need you?
There is that, but you have to, if you say you're going to do it for one, you have to have the same set of rules for everybody.
Now, wait, hold on a second. Jimmy Johnson said that's not true.
I know. They asked him what would happen if Troy Aikman fell asleep in a meeting because he cut some undrafted guy for doing that. And he said, obviously I wouldn't cut Troy Aikman, but still it sends a message to guys when you make your star players adhere to the same rules on the practice field that you do the regular Joes.
Okay, last question for you. You're telling me in a scrimmage that the offensive line looks shaky. We'll know the real answers when they get to the preseason games at Chicago and at Minnesota. Do you think that this is the way it's going to be? And if it is, are they going to have to maybe see who gets cut somewhere? Where's this headed?
Still in flux, George. I think, the five that are out there now may not be the five that are the starters once the season goes. I think they're going to try and run it that way because that's the way that they've set it up all throughout the OTAs and the mini camps and whatnot, that they want Andre Dillard at left tackle, Peter Skoronski at left guard, Aaron Brewer at center, Daniel Brunskill at right guard. And then now with Nicholas Petit-Ferrer suspended, either Chris Hubbard or Jamarco Jones at right tackle for the interim. The problem with that is this line has been getting beat up pretty good. Now, granted, when you're going against Jeffrey Simmons, Danico Autry, and the like on a regular basis, they should have an advantage over a group that's just now come together. But I think you'll be able to tell more about them once they go through the preseason game in Chicago and then the joint work and games against the Patriots and the Vikings that are later on this month. So I think it's still going to be very, very fluid in terms of what they do with this offensive line. I think they're hoping that the 5 they have out there work out. But if they have to make some adjustments and even have to make some waiver claims, I wouldn't rule it out.
Terry, it sounds like business as usual. Keep us updated. We'll do it again tomorrow, same time, same place.
All right, sounds good, George. Thanks.
That's Terry McCormick's Daily Titans Update, brought to you by Lori Leland Mortgage. Okay, let's set the sort of the roster of how this is going to work today. Kelly is down in Alabama taking his son back to Troy, so he will not be with us today. He's got his hands full with that drive. Billy Derrick obviously is here. Hello, William.
Hello, George.
What's going on?
Nothing much. No Kelly today.
Right. What does that do for you? I mean, takes some pressure off.
Yeah, it does take some pressure off me. No,
Right.
I don't think I'll be uptight at all today with Kelly breathing down my neck. No, I haven't. But
because you've taken on water at times with Kelly.
I think I'm getting a little bit more comfortable with Kelly's
Firing
personality.
back. Yeah, I believe it.
No, it's fun. But no Kelly today. He's taking the day off. If roles were reversed, he would probably be giving me some grief right now.
Oh, my God. You'd never hear the end of it.
He'd be all over me. But, George, let's get in the update. We got a lot to get to.
I believe it. Let's go.
And we start in the baseball world.
Oh,
you mentioned the big trade. The Houston Disastros, as you call them, are acquiring Justin Verlander from the Mets.
They were willing to take on, I guess, a chunk of the salary. I never thought the Braves would do this because it's a substantial amount of money. Verlander was in Houston, left there to go to the Mets. So this should be a pretty seamless transition.
Yeah, he's under contract through next season with a potential option for 2025.
Yeah.
After he agreed to a huge almost $87 million deal.
It's crazy.
A 2-year deal with the Mets. So he'll still be getting paid by the Mets.
Well, my guess is as part of the deal, the Mets have agreed to pick up a certain percentage of the salary. I have not seen the story, so I don't know what they've agreed to.
Yeah, I mean, this is just the initial report. I'm sure a lot more will be released. They already dealt Max Scherzer to the Rangers. So, George, I mean, could you say the Mets are falling apart a little bit here? Not that they weren't already.
This is what they had to do. They had no choice.
And does this help them at all? I mean, I guess is the next
not
question.
In the short term, no. I don't know about the prospects they've gotten out of these two deals.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact of it is the Braves have kicked their butt. And I don't know why that's the case. I really don't know what's going on in New York. Everybody's got a theory.
Yeah. It almost feels like they're succumbing a little bit, just throwing up their hands.
When they got to 17 back of Atlanta, I mean, you have to throw up your hands and say, who's kidding who? We're not going to catch them.
Yeah, they really had no other choice.
No.
And I feel for Buck Showalter in this.
Because I think ultimately he will walk the plank on this, and I hate that for him.
Yeah, and I don't know that he deserves as much blame as he might get and has already gotten, but he's a great manager.
Unless you're there day to day, it's hard to know.
Yeah, and I'm sure we'll have Danny on again Thursday, so we'll dive into more of that. There will be more trades today. I haven't really noticed any other noteworthy trades. I'm sure from now until the end of the show,
the Braves
there will be some.
Have acquired Brad Hand, left-handed reliever. Brad Hand has a funky delivery working out of the stretch and an absolutely massive curveball.
Yeah.
At one time was the closer for 2 or 3 teams. Excuse me. Brad Hand's got to be, 36, 37. This is a short-term deal. I like it. I think he's better than some of what they have in their bullpen.
Yeah, another move too, George. The Mets, I know they've let go of Verlander and Scherzer, but they are reportedly acquiring Astros' top-ranked prospect, Drew Gilbert, who played at Tennessee, and he has sort of shot up the minor league ranks, and he's going to be a good player.
Well, if you're going to get something, you got to give something. And that's
right.
That's where this is going.
Right. And he's up there in their prospects. I haven't seen their prospect rankings, but Drew Gilbert is headed to the Mets. So a former Tennessee player there. George, yesterday, moving over to college football, it was announced that Arizona has scheduled a Board of Regents meeting for today at 4:30 Central Time, 5:30 Eastern. So about 30 minutes after our show today, we'll figure out what'll happen. But Pac-12 Commissioner George Kliavkoff has asked the conference for another meeting and more time after presenting the initial deal today. It obviously remains to be seen what'll happen next there, but there will be discussions at the meeting tonight and more discussions. But it's not looking good. They're all waiting on this big media deal, but it's not. I'm hearing it's not very big.
Well, to put it in a song, Arizona gone.
Yeah,
sure feels that way.
I was texting with a buddy yesterday. What about Arizona State? Why have they not been referenced here?
I don't know.
I
honestly don't know enough about the politics out west to give you a very good answer.
And obviously, you point to basketball, Arizona's basketball success. Big 12 Commissioner Brett Yormark has promoted basketball as, we're going to be a basketball conference, and they are. I mean, they're loaded with. They got Houston, of course, who's a good program. If they get Arizona, that's another elite program. So not that they don't want a big football conference, but I mean, basketball wise, they're fine there. So maybe that's a basketball.
Here's
issue.
What it feels like. It feels like you've got three that are becoming rock solid: SEC, Big Ten, and more the Big 12 seems to have distanced itself from the ACC and the Pac-12 or the Pac-6 or whatever the hell they're going to be.
If they'll be anything.
It doesn't look good.
And I've heard a lot about the American. And again, these are rumblings, these are rumors about the American Conference maybe joining with the Pac-12 and forming maybe an American Pac-12, the APAC of sorts. So
they better get a deal with Southwest Airlines.
The best was the Atlanta Braves have decided to join the.
You like that one?
the Big Ten. That's
good.
A good one. But George, that's really it for today. The big story, of course, is college football and what'll happen in realignment, and then we'll keep track of some of these other baseball trades. But
yeah, because the deadline I think is 4:00 Central.
Yes.
And so we will absolutely keep all of you up to date if anything big breaks. After the break, speaking of breaks, Tony Basilio will join us, and we're going to get into this Florida State rumor, which is easy to then link Clemson to. And think about it. Clemson and Tennessee go head-to-head a lot in recruiting.
Mm-hmm.
What will this mean for the Big Orange? We'll talk to him about that next.
How am I going to get to work? My car's totaled.
Scholar, our team is making a call right now. We'll get you a rental car. Don't worry.
That's a relief.
Call us 24/7. We're here. We're going to help.
Year number 2 of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night was awesome. And the reason is really simple. I chose Strike and Spare, and they were amazing. They have great food, great bowling, and a staff that is truly ready to go the extra mile to help you. They have 5 family fun centers in the area to choose from. And for more info, go to strikeandspare.com or call them at 615-824-5685. As a lot of you know, our show is now more than a year old, and that's a great testimony to some of the viewership that we have had from you all. So a big thank you right there. If you're new to all of this and you're wondering, how do we see the show? Here's some of the ways. Of course, you can watch it live 2 to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday. And the 3 biggest ways are Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Now, if you're working or can't watch the show live, you know what? All this stuff is archived in podcast form through two different ways. Apple, Spotify, that's the way you do it. You can go Apple Podcast or Spotify, and you're probably sitting there saying, George, you don't know what any of these mean. Well, I'm learning. I can at least spit it out now. Hope that you will continue to enjoy our show, because as football season revs up, we've got some great things planned. Thanks for being with us.
You can't see the sights without the sounds. From the crack of the bat to the roar of the crowd and everything in between, discover what Hit City has to offer. Spend your nights cheering on the Nashville Sounds at First Horizon Park with giveaways, fireworks shows, theme weekends, and more. Single game tickets are on sale now. Visit NashvilleSounds.com to claim your seat today.
So who said I can't be a golfer? Well, you know what? This is X Golf, located just down the road from the Fordyce Center in Bellevue. This is fun. It'll improve your golf game, and you need to stop in and check it out. 8138 Sawyer Brown Road, and who knows, I may get to 200 before it's all over. We are back. I think most of you know this. One of the best things our show did was hook up with Tony Basilio, longtime Knoxville sports talk show host. He comes on every week. We get into a variety of things, some that you could figure going in, others you'd say, I never saw that coming. Tony's on with us by phone today. Tony, I got to level with you. It's just simply two old broadcasters today. Kelly is taking his son, who's a quarterback, back to Troy.
Oh, man, it's terrific. So it's just us breaking it down scientifically, huh, George?
Oh, absolutely. So I'm about to ask you the most convoluted question you've ever gotten. You ready for it?
Hit it.
Okay. So there is starting to be this rumor that Florida State is really looking at the Big Ten. And I always believe if Florida State's in there, Clemson's not far behind. If that were to take place and Clemson were to move to the Big Ten, over the years, Tennessee and Clemson have gotten into a lot of recruiting battles, you know, in between Knoxville and Clemson, a lot of football players that narrow down to Tennessee and Clemson. If Clemson went Big Ten, would most of those kids in that two-school battle say, I don't want to go Big Ten, I want to play in the SEC? What I'm getting at is, would that move help Tennessee at all?
I think so. You know, I was thinking about that last night. That just seems like, now Clemson, academically speaking, because, you know, the Big Ten tries to pretend, George, like they've got some kind of academic supremacy. And that's fine. Really, this is about dollars. When you start pulling Florida State into your league, Clemson's a good school already, as we know, academically. That's a really good question, George. I think if any time that you take a school and you pull it out of its geographic footprint, it's going to hurt that school. You know, I'm in Pennsylvania right now visiting family, and when I was here, Penn State football compared to what it is now, it's night and day. And the mistake they made was 30 years ago, they chased the dollars and went to the Big Ten, and they've had their high points, but they're a different program. Nebraska in the Big Ten, different program. Texas and Oklahoma are about to find this out. But what will help them is there's a couple other displaced former league members that they're probably going to hook up with when the SEC goes to the 3 and 6. I just think if you stop and think about it for a second, this movement with Arizona potentially, I don't know, is the Pac-12 or whatever's left of them, is that just thing going to dissolve? We are seeing tectonic plates shift right before our very eyes. And George, last week, wasn't there a grant of rights issue with the ACC schools? And don't they have a TV contract till 2036? And doesn't anybody's word mean anything anymore? And didn't they get together and just put on a unified face? I mean, I just sit here and I go, do these fools believe in anything? But to your point, Clemson, when Tennessee fell into the ground, Clemson was the real beneficiary of this. I'll tell you a quick story. I don't know whether you'll believe it or not, but I'm going to share it with you anyway. A friend of mine in town who owns a business, who we've gotten to play with my band some music at his place, so I've gotten to know him. One time we were sitting around late at night after playing, and he said, Tony, can I tell you a story? I said, sure. He proceeded to tell me that, you're not going to believe this, the kid that played at Clemson, who's now with the Jaguars, what's his name, George?
Trevor Lawrence.
Trevor Lawrence.
Do you have a brain cramp?
Yeah. Trevor Lawrence is, yeah.
It'll only get worse.
Trust me. Trevor Lawrence's father grew up a Tennessee fan. They're Tennessee people. His college roommate is a guy whose business I was at. He says, Tony, I don't understand what's going on, but he told me when they were on their visit, he was ignored. They didn't. So the father finally said to Bob Welton, who's down in Alabama now, part of Nick Saban's brain trust. I use that term loosely, brain trust with him. But the father said, why aren't you paying attention to my son? And the Tennessee coach said to him, we don't really think he's a great fit for our offense. He wanted to come to Tennessee. He grew up a Peyton Manning fan. That kid. So Tennessee gifted Trevor Lawrence, but it's better than that. So when Lane Kiffin was here, Tennessee had a commitment from the quarterback over there that started it all. And if I couldn't remember Trevor Lawrence's name, I really am not going to be able to remember this kid's name. But he was the first really good quarterback that Dabo had. And that's what started the fire for Clemson.
Are we talking Deshaun Watson?
No, before Watson.
Taj Boyd.
That's right.
It was Taj Boyd.
Yeah.
It was Taj Boyd.
Good job, Billy.
He was coming here.
George.
Thank you, Billy. He was coming here, and then he was gifted to Clemson, and they just took off. Point is this. When Philip Fulmer did his damage in the 90s, because it's a very astute point you just brought up, Tennessee pulled a ton of guys out of the Carolinas and a ton of guys out of South Carolina. And that stopped. That just ran dry. For Tennessee to be vital, they've got to recruit the Carolinas, Virginia, and that's starting to happen again under the current coach and the current regime and in the NIL era. But George, you bring up a great point. I think that Clemson would be much better served being a Southeastern Conference member if they want to retain their football power status than being a member of the Big Ten. That just makes no sense to me. I can't figure out what's going on right now, George. I'm like, are we living in a fever dream here?
See, I'm with you. To me, it's obvious because someday the SEC isn't going to stay at 16. So to me, the two most obvious are Florida State and Clemson. And you're telling me the same thing, and we're both asking the same question, which is, doesn't anybody else see that?
You know, I think to some degree, though, I think these presidents of these leagues, and people want to blame the commissioner of these leagues, but really it's the presidents of the league that are driving this. It's the greed. But I think at some point they say to themselves, you know what? We just negotiated a TV deal and we're not going to cut the pie any further. Because then I got to go back to the networks, and I got to go hem and haw and go back through this. But in the SEC, in the Big Ten's case, they just continue to grab this ginormous footprint. It's interesting it's almost like they're saying to the SEC, okay, we know you're really the behemoth here, but we're going to jump out in front and we're going to grab the schools we think are valuable. It's weird. It's almost like they're going to add. What are they going to add? Are they going to go to 20? It looks like that's what they're getting ready to do, doesn't it?
It does. And the part I can't get right now is, okay, it sure looks like we're about to have a burial of the Pac-12. Funeral services, the body is interred, what are they going to turn to? San Diego State and Fresno State? And I brought up Gonzaga as a basketball only. They're going to have to do something. Then you've got the ACC rumored to be losing Florida State and Clemson. Are we about to be down to 3 real superpowers?
Yeah, I told you guys a couple weeks ago, I bet on the Big 12 because I like that commissioner. He's a very good leader. He's a very solid guy. People I know in the industry. He's a very sharp guy. And so far, he's done pretty sharp things. They've been pretty innovative. And I believe they're going to be the third of the 3 standing. Yeah, I think that's right. I think they're going to absorb some teams. And here's the thing. If Clemson and Florida State go to the Big Ten, Miami will be in the SEC within about 20 minutes, I think. That would only make sense. And then who else would the league grab? I just kind of think about it, look at it. North Carolina, probably. I think North Carolina is quietly been one of the more desirable the Southeastern Conference had their eyes on North Carolina for a while. And for good reason. What becomes interesting is what becomes of the Dukes of the world. Several programs like that. Do they devolve into some football only or basketball only type of deal, and they take their football program and de-emphasize it and go down a level? And then I think, George, eventually you're going to see the group of 5 teams play for their own championship. Which I'm a big believer. Go ahead.
Yeah, because you're going right where Watson Brown and I went yesterday while I was in a walk in the neighborhood. So the group of 5s, you and I both believe this, that they are ultimately, because they're being left for roadkill, and they're ultimately going to go to some network and say, is there enough money in your till to make it worth our while to have a group of 5 national championship? So I'm going to ask you, do you think there is enough money?
George, the XFL and the USFL draw a couple million people a weekend in the spring. We have a ravenous appetite for football around the clock. There's no reason they couldn't strike a TV deal somewhere, somehow, play Friday night games, Thursday night games. And then if they play for their own national championship and have a playoff that fits in that December window, people will watch it. They'll gamble on it. It'll get good numbers. It'll be a worthwhile product. They'll draw people to their respective stadiums. And I absolutely think, look, it's our number 1 sport. Those darn spring leagues, and I'm just enough of a degenerate that I watch the spring leagues, but those darn spring leagues do a couple million people a weekend.
It's crazy.
And it's pickup football. I mean, go watch the spring. And I respect the kids that are out there trying to continue their career. It's a good opportunity for some of them. There have already been some guys that stuck in the NFL from those leagues. I don't begrudge anybody for trying to make a living, but that is a great illustration to me that there's money out there for if a Memphis and a Birmingham play each other. I had Mark Ingram on the program, the AD Birmingham, and the backstory on the way they saved their program, that when he got there was actually defunct, and it brought it back to life. But the backstory on that, all the way into building a beautiful new stadium down there in Birmingham, into going into a new league where they are replacing the Cincinnatis of the world and those people. I just, George, I look at it and I say to myself, why should those people pretend that they're playing for Tennessee's championship or Alabama's champion or Georgia's champion? They're not. I mean, if this was a race, those guys would be the cars finishing 41 to 44, and half of them don't even have paint jobs, or not let alone decals on their car.
Okay, so let me try it this way, because I love where we're going here. Next week, we're going to do a show at MTSU's campus, and we'll have Chris Massaro on, the athletic director, who I have a lot of respect for. Tony, he's one of only about 3 ADs that'll even speak to me. So of course I like him. But do you think there have been any secret meetings that we don't know about amongst little group of 5 who are saying, who's kidding who? They don't give a damn about us. Let's start getting on with it.
George, I would hope so. I go back to this. The Big 12, when they were being swallowed last year, they didn't panic. They went right out there and got Cincinnati. They got that team down in Orlando, that big Florida market, put a beachhead in there. Cincinnati's that's a major league sports city. Cincinnati is, with an NFL and a major league heritage baseball team. They added Houston. I mean, I guess my point is they didn't blink. They didn't sit there like the Pac-10 and just lay on the road like, oh, well, I guess it's over for us. I mean, I don't know what that was all about. Or the Big Ten, the Pac-10, I'm sorry, Pac-12, this all runs together. George, I would certainly hope so. Because, again, I think you and I both believe this, because I come about it from the gambling angle.
Oh, I think your gambling thing is dead on right, because as long as there's interest, that's what'll drive it.
And you don't need, look, the big boys play for games that draw 4 million eyeballs, and that's great. 4 million people is a lot of people, and that's the signature games in college football. There's no reason that the group of 5 couldn't put together an attractive enough television package where they get 3 or 4 games on TV, and then these other games get parsed out to an ESPN Plus, whomever, some of the other secondary networks. There's no reason they couldn't get some games that draw 700, 800, 900,000. And then when they play their playoff, a 12-team or 16-team type playoff, they could have a robust championship type format. George, we would all watch it, because it's college football. It's guys that have NFL aspirations in some case. It's going to be fast, world-class type athletes. Are they going to be SEC athletes? No, but in some cases, there will be guys that'll go, just like there is now, or are now. There will be people that will go high in the NFL draft. It'll be a very worthwhile product. And I would encourage them to do that. Quit pretending and do that.
Oh, and do it quick. So, Tony, as you can imagine, given a past history, when it was Memphis State, I still keep up with what's going on. There was a time where they were begging the Big 12 to get in there. Please take us. We'll do damn near anything. I don't hear any of that anymore. Has Memphis just thrown in the towel?
Yeah. Let me ask you this. It's a pretty good sized market.
Yeah.
And the fans have proven they'll turn out when they win, and they've had success in the last 15 years. What is it about them that the Big 12 just won't even look at them?
Tony, when I was there, they had a reputation of being kind of a rogue deal. Dana Kirk had just been thrown out as the head coach. There was a lot of cheating that had gone on in Memphis before I ever got there. And they had a reputation back then as being kind of a rogue, kind of a UNLV light, if you will. Would you buy that?
Yes.
But I don't know what it is now. I mean, Fred Smith, everything I've heard is that Fred Smith has offered just about anything to push Memphis into a real conference, and none of it's worked.
Yeah, I don't understand that. You wonder if a Fred Smith flashed $100 million or $200 million to the Big 12, if he could force their way. Because that is literally, I think these people, if they can make another nickel, would sacrifice like a family member. I mean, that's just how they are. That's who they are and how they are. Like when you said earlier, I only have 3 athletic directors that'll speak to me now. I was thinking, well, that's a positive for this guy in my business. I think that's I call that a net positive where I come from. But it's so interesting to look at a Memphis and go, a lot of success, great basketball success, which nobody cares about now. Boy, the sports landscape right now, the college sports landscape,
it's Looney Tunes.
You can't make this up. You cannot make this up. You know what Nebraska ought to do, George? Nebraska ought to admit their mistake
and go back.
Go back to the Big 12 where they can compete.
So, I mean, Tony, as you can tell, you and I could talk this forever. And the truth of it is, it'd make a great movie. Watching all the wheeling and dealing that went on about Texas and OU coming to the SEC. And we've got a friend that we've had on this show, and you may have too, Brent Zwerneman from the Houston Chronicle, who was the guy that broke the story. I mean, is that not a movie? Look at what that move has now, caused to happen. It's crazy.
It's absolutely nuts. And you can't make any of it up. And then, when you look at this day and age, right? In the NIL, it's going to be the boulevard of broken dreams. Like we haven't even seen this yet. I don't know if you've been following this, but this guy at Miami, the Life Wallet guy, Ruiz.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
He's not upside down. Like the house is laying on top of him. Like he's so far into the ground. I mean, he's 100 feet down in the ocean right now, that poor guy. And the truth is that there's a lot of kids down there at Miami's program. They can say what they want to say. He's been funding their deal. He spent about $400,000 himself last year on players, and because he publicizes all of it, and those kids aren't going to get a dime. And that's what you can see that coming from a mile away. And, some of these NILs in certain spots, not Tennessee's is rock solid, but, some of these that are funded by these single individual guys like him that want the pub and want to be the BMOC, so to speak.
Team owner.
You could, team owner. That's your term. And you could make an absolute movie about those people.
Oh, you're right about that. So I'm guessing right now, and I know we're about to end this here. I love this conversation. So UCLA and USC today have got to be in their little LA bunkers going, thank God we made this move, because our conference is about to head into the Pacific Ocean.
That is exactly right. Yeah, we jumped off, and you're exactly right. The Big Ten's getting ready to gobble up what's left. And like you said, I like the Utah and a couple other schools coming out and saying, we're together. We're really, what choice do you have? I'm going to stand with what's left. Really?
Right.
By the way, Literally nobody cares. But good luck to you.
Oh, this is hilarious. Where does Hawaii end up? I think they should be in the SEC.
If I were a kid, George, well, listen, I've always said, I don't know why more kids don't take official visits to Hawaii. It's one
my
time
God.
in your life.
Yes.
Get a free trip there.
Northwestern, Rutgers, and Hawaii.
Yes. Yes.
So okay, we put a certain level of cynicism out there today, which you and I are very good at. By the way, the athletic director thing, if you're wondering, one day on the air, I said, you show me an athletic director whose lips are moving, and I'll show you a liar. Well, Massaro called me. This was years ago. Massaro called me, and he goes, are you including me? And I said, no, I'm not. So I went on the air at the next break, and I said, I want to clarify, here are the ones who are not lying. I listed like 3 of them. Where can people hear your cynicism and couple it maybe with mine?
tclub.team is my website. We blog every day and then log our show, and our show's there at the leisure of folks to listen. And we've been very blessed to be here around 30 years now, which is kind of crazy to stop and think about that. I don't know about you. You've been at this a long time, and you
about the same amount.
You can't look back, because it'll freak you out that you've been doing it that long. You can only look ahead. But if you would have told a young me that we would be here today,
oh my God,
discussing and how big all this stuff has gotten, all of it, it's all just exploded.
It's nuts.
It's really nuts. It's a great word for it. And George, the thought I keep having is, what's it going to look like in 10 years? And when do they drive people away from it? Because the further and further you get away from your tradition, the further and further you leave yourself open to people saying, you know what? I've had enough.
You got that.
And I hope
right.
that doesn't happen.
I do too.
Man, I love football season. I love college football. It's such a unique and different product, but it's getting ready to become a mini NFL. And I don't know if I've signed up for that. So I guess we'll see.
No, you've raised really good points on this. Let's solve them all next week.
Same time, same bat channel, my friend.
Absolutely. Take care, Tony.
Thank you. And Billy, thank you for being my brain today, my hard drive. Thank you, Billy Derrick.
You got it. You got it, Tony.
Have you worked a deal with Tony yet?
Not yet. It's in the works.
It's negotiations are underway.
Yes.
Okay. Stay tuned.
Hey, I'm letting Tony Vitello iron out his contract. See you guys.
I like it. You're in good hands. Okay, great stuff from Tony Basilio. When we come back, Billy, let you and I talk a little bit about what he has put out there. But first, big week, Music City Grand Prix this Friday, this Saturday, this Sunday. I can't wait. I've never been to one. I have no idea what I'm getting into, but I am almost certain it's really cool. So if you're left out right now, you don't have to be. You can simply go on their website, musiccitygp.com. You can start at the ground floor, general admission. You can work yourself up to some huge and really good amenities. They've got it all. And when they say Music City Grand Prix, they are not lying. There's a ton of music with all the concerts that are going to go on. Don't be left out. Jump on what we're telling you here. musiccitygp.com.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonleyTimmons.com.
For over 35 years, Wilson Bank & Trust has been committed to providing customized banking solutions to help individuals, families, and businesses in Tennessee achieve their goals. As your full-service community bank, we are proud to offer loans with competitive rates, local decision-making, and fast, friendly service from our experienced lenders. No matter where you are on your financial journey, Wilson Bank & Trust is ready to help you take the next step. Visit your nearest Wilson Bank & Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Family owned and operated for more than 2 decades, Alaco Fine Wood Floors is Nashville and Middle Tennessee's choice for premium quality hardwood floors. Since 1995, Jimmy Alaco and his army of employees have embodied the approach of taking pride in one's craft and providing superior customer service, growing from a one-man shop to a team of 23 professionals who share the founder's passion for quality craftsmanship and customer satisfaction. If you are interested in contacting them, you can find their headquarters at 2505 Winford Avenue in Berry Hill, or give them a call at 615-356-0303. Again, that's 615-356-0303, or log on to alacofinewoodfloors.com. Alaco Fine Wood Floors, serving Middle Tennessee's hardwood flooring needs since 1995.
At Baird, we have a different slant on global financial advice. That global capabilities mean nothing without personal attention. We have investor relationships in 35 countries and market expertise in over 40 industry verticals, all to help make the most important investment connections of all, yours. Global financial advice with a client-first approach. It's the shape of things to come. Discover the Baird difference at BairdDifference.com.
Hey, thank you for meeting with me today. The insurance company has made an offer.
Already? Wow.
They've offered you the entire policy.
Thank you, Blair.
You're so welcome.
Well, it was an incredible conversation with Tony Basilio. Billy, here's one of the things I took away at the very end. He brought it up. If college football continues down the path of A&M and Texas didn't play for a few years, they're not in the same conference. If you start to get rid of the Auburns versus Georgias, the great rivalries that are out there, and you say, well, we can't play anymore because we're over here and you're over there. If you do enough of that, even college football can get screwed up some.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and we're seeing it right now, George. It's happening right in front of our eyes. I like the phrase Tony used, tectonic plates are being shifted in college football. And, you know, it's moving so fast that it's like we don't even have enough time to sit back and realize how nuts it is. I mean, that was a good word. It's crazy. And it's all happening, you know, just a little over 3 weeks before the season starts, which I thought about yesterday. Like, you know, for a coach who may not know what conference his team is going to be in next season, and to try to get his team ready for this season is just, I mean, it's crazy. So all the coaches that aren't dealing with conference realignment are probably a lot more comfortable. Not that coaching in college football is comfortable right now, but I mean, there's a line, and on one side of it, you got the coaches like the Arizona coach, Deion Sanders in Colorado, maybe some of the other coaches who are unsure of where their team will be conference-wise next season. That's one side of the line. The other side are the coaches that know what conference they're going to be in for the next, for the foreseeable future. And so it's just making college football even harder to coach in.
I keep going back to a point that nobody brings up anymore, and it's because of the level of greed that's out there. There is nobody that gets in these rooms that ultimately decides college athletics who says, wait a minute, Greg Sankey, yes, your conference will be better by adding Texas and Oklahoma. But the amount of chaos your move is going to cause the landscape of college football isn't worth it. Nobody ever steps in anymore for the good of anything other than just give me the dollars. That's all it is anymore. And anybody who thinks otherwise is crazy.
Yeah, it's all about money in recruiting. It's all about money in conference realignment. I mean, money is the center of everything now. And we're going to have to live with it. But, the one thing I don't think this will affect is the passion and the pageantry. Like, I don't think that
they
will ever
screw that. Even they can't screw that up. It was
no
what David Cutcliffe said here on this stage a couple of weeks ago. You fans are what drives it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, without the fans, college football is nothing. And I did love what Cutcliffe said there. He was saying, I bow down to you guys because y'all are, y'all are having to sit in traffic after games while, the coaches and the players get, escorted bus by the police. So, that's not going to change. The fans' passion, the tradition, the pageantry of these games. Now, you get even more of it, I think, right? I mean, you get even more of the passion of the Texas and OU fan bases. And then in the Big Ten, if we see Florida State go to the Big Ten and Clemson maybe even go to the Big Ten. We were talking about North Carolina to the SEC, Miami maybe to the SEC. I mean, I don't think that'll change, but the money is there to stay, and there's even more money at stake now, except for in the Pac-12.
I do wonder about the concept that the presidents say, okay, we don't divide it any farther. In the SEC, they might be saying there's 16 of us. If we go out and get X, Y, and Z, then we're going to have to cut the percentage from 90 trillion down to 78 trillion. Can we live with that? Who knows?
Who knows? It's too much money. George Watson talked about it, since he started on this show. He always talks about the money is just outrageous now. And it is. It's affected coaches. It's affected players' recruiting decisions. And it's affected teams in what conference they're going to be in. So it's all about money, George.
So with that in mind, we will, after the break, go to Stat of the Day. As a solo, I'm likely to bomb. Then you're going to hear a great interview with SEC Network commentator Chris Doering. Chris Doering and Kelly were teammates at one time, I think up in Indy. They're going to talk about that during the interview. Then Sounds play-by-play voice Jeff Him near the bottom of the hour. The Sounds open another homestand tonight, 6 in a row out at First Horizon. Got a lot going on. Thanks to all of you for joining us today, and stay tuned. We're coming back. Forget the fact that Sir Speedy Music City is owned by my BGA classmate James Warren.
30 years.
Forget the fact that Sir Speedy Music City is owned by my BGA classmate James Warren. Their work stands on its own merit. James and his staff do incredible work, as evidenced by the huge banners at the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. If you're looking for quality to help your marketing and business communications, and you want it at a reasonable price, these are your folks. Call them at 615-832-9511 or go to print at sirspeedymusiccity.com. And be sure to tell them Plaz sent you.
How am I going to get to work? My car's totaled.
Skylar, our team is making a call right now. We'll get you a rental car. Don't worry.
That's a relief.
Call us 24/7. We're here. We're going to help.
Convenience and value. Two words that we expect when we do business. Our goal at JHA Company is to deliver just that, both to our school partners and to our customers. Whether you're purchasing photos, yearbooks, class jewelry, letter jackets, school spirit wear, or senior graduation products, we strive to make the experience easy, convenient, and cost-effective. Find out more at jhacompany.com or call 615-867-6345 for more information. JHA, one source, one company.
Hello, this is Celeste Middleton, a State Farm agent in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. I want to help my neighbors and local businesses be proactive and assess their risk before something unexpected happens. We want you to have a thorough understanding of your coverages to have the best protection when you need it. We can create a personal price plan for you. Our team has over 70 years of experience helping people in Middle Tennessee. We have an awesome team with integrity and provide honest and prompt communication, and we love what we do and genuinely care about everyone we work with at our office. Give us a call at 615-895-2700, send us a message at celestemiddleton.com, or walk in at our office at 803 North Thompson Lane in Murfreesboro. We would love to earn your business.
.303 is the time here in Nashville. Coming up, Chris Doering from the SEC Network talking a little SEC football. But first, stat of the day brought to you by John English Antique Sports and Cards in Shelbyville, Tennessee. You can find them at 204 East Depot Street. They're open during the week, Tuesday through Friday from noon to 5, and Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 5. Give them a call at 931-492-4304. All right, George, solo today. No Kelly.
Oh, no.
We'll see what we've got today. We are 25 days away from week 0 of college football, and I'll go ahead and start giving credit to Butch Samide. He has been providing these, so let's see what Butch has cooked up. Who holds the record for most passing yards in a single season in college football? And it's an interesting answer. I don't think I would have been able to get this one right.
It could be somebody from the University of Houston back when they were in their crazy run and shoot kind of stuff. It could be somebody from Fresno State when they were in their crazy throw it all over the ocean. That said, I'm supposed to come up with an answer, and I can't think of one. There was a guy at Houston, I want to say, was it Dingler? I don't know. Go ahead and show it to me.
Okay. Quick white flag from George.
Yeah, it was.
Bailey Zappi.
Oh, wow.
From Western Kentucky.
You know, I never thought of that one,
Yeah.
but they threw it all over the place.
They really did. Almost 6,000 passing yards in his career, single season. So this is single season. Yeah, going back to the question, single season. So that's a ridiculous number.
Think about it. In a 13 or 14 game season, it's a little over 400 because they had a title game.
Yeah,
when he was there, it's.
I guess they're including the bowl game too.
Probably 425 per game during that year.
Yeah,
he is, by the way, the backup quarterback to Mac Jones in New England,
and has played well when he's had the opportunity.
So we are likely to see him play a bunch.
Yeah,
when the Titans play New England here on August 25th. Okay, time to make it official.
It's official.
Okay. You're going to really like this interview. I hope a bunch of you will tune in on this. Chris Doering may not be as big a name as some of the others, but I'm telling you, his opinions are really good. You're going to like this interview. If I remember correctly, I think we let Kelly, his former teammate, kind of start this off. So here is former Florida Gator and now SEC Network commentator, Chris Doering. Chris, I don't do this very often, but Kelly Holcomb is the one that set this up. You guys have got a lot of history together. So, Kelly, even though you don't deserve it, you get the first questions.
Christopher, what's up, man? How you doing, brother?
I'm good, man. It's good to be here with you. Oh, we've never had like a professional working relationship outside of playing football together, so this is going to be kind of odd for me. He knows what I do on TV is much different than what I do in person,
He
so
told
the
me that
language is
today.
going to be.
Yes.
I'm gonna have to temper my typical language.
That is correct. Chris could be a Hollywood actor. There's no question. He does really well on TV, but his everyday life is we got to keep it G-rated on this, brother.
We can do that. The PG-13R stuff went on last night. Being in Nashville, I don't know how you guys resist the temptation, but I did for the first 2 nights. Last night we kind of let it rip a little bit, and I'm struggling today. So trying to bounce back.
Put on a little more makeup.
Oh yeah, the makeup. She kept me in the chair extra long this morning.
You're looking kind of good with that suit, man. They buy them suits for you. Is it? I know that's a write-off for you.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I need to get with my CPA because I certainly have not been able to take advantage of that loophole yet. But no, I don't get a wardrobe budget. It's Dari Noka, Peter Burns, those guys get a little wardrobe budget, but clearly it doesn't go very far if anybody's seen Dari and PB's dress. So I have to go do my own thing with my own suit, man.
How your kids doing, man? Everybody good?
Doing well, man. Yeah. It's hard to believe. We were talking here about how long you and I have been friends. Our families have been friends. We watched each other's kids be born and grown up, and it's hard to believe that you already got one out of college, and my 2 are in college, almost done. My daughter's starting her senior year at Florida. My son just finished his freshman year at SCAD in Savannah. So it is a long history that the Holcombs and Dorings have with one another.
Yeah, that is true, man. That is true. We got, and Chris is really good at Jeopardy, George.
I was literally,
he can.
They were going to ask me about dirt on you. I was going to tell them you sucked at Jeopardy, but
yeah, I do. So when it comes to you, I mean, you're like a flipping nerd, dude. Like you sit here and read the paper all day. I mean, the Wall Street Journal every day. I mean, It's just you're like a nerd when they ask the question, you already know the answer.
Well, I think the real competition was with Lori Holcomb. She was a little better than what Kelly was when it came to Jeopardy. But if I'm being honest, if I had to rank the order of Holcombs, I don't know. Lori might be above Kelly. I mean,
I don't think it'd take much.
Nah, he's my boy. I love it. We're like we're great friends. We're kind of like the odd couple, very different in a lot of different ways in terms of things that we like and our personalities. But one of my all-time favorite people, and certainly one of my best friends too.
Hey Kelly, let me ask you this: when you all played together, did you know he was going to get into broadcasting?
I did not. I did not. He's really good at it. I've told him that before. I enjoy watching the SEC Network after the game's been played, and he's on there with another teammate of mine, Taquillo. So I'm texting back and forth with him, and then he's got Ben Watson on there. So I really enjoy listening to Chris because he's really good at it. I've heard him on some games on Westwood One Radio, and he's really good at that. But I think he found his home in the broadcasting deal when he's in the studio right there. I think he's really good. He understands the game, and he gives some really good observations about it. There's no question.
I appreciate you saying that, man. I don't get a lot of compliments from Kelly, but that was a nice one. He does text me and tell me that I do a good job. But I'll say this, like in 10 years in the NFL, I got cut 22 different times, or got cut 10 different times. I moved 22 different times. I was never with one team for longer than 2 consecutive years. But one of the advantages for me is I got a chance to play in a lot of different systems with a lot of different coaches. And Kelly and I played together in Indianapolis for Lindy and Fonte, a guy that was a brilliant offensive mind, but having to be the ability to be around Mike Shanahan, obviously Coach Spurrier, even what I learned from Bill Cowher in my time in Pittsburgh as well. I would have liked to have been in one place for a longer period of time, but the knowledge that I was able to accumulate from moving around all those different systems has benefited my broadcasting career.
Chris could have had he obviously had a long career, but he could have been a household name if he didn't want to be mayor of Gainesville. Every year he wanted to go back to Gainesville and be the mayor. And I tried to explain to him, like, you need to stay up here, dude. And he's like, nah, I'm going back to Gainesville. If he would have done that, he would have been a household name in football. Now he's a household name in broadcasting, but he could have done that on the football side as well.
I'm so sick of you. Like the fact that you brought that up,
you can stop right there. I'm so sick of you.
Here's the thing, like what I'm sick of is hearing he's right about that. In all honesty, and I think sometimes in life, you're maybe not as mature as you'd like to be in certain situations. I was a guy that liked to go home in the off season. It certainly would have benefited me to stay in my respective city I was playing in year round and really build roots there. I bought my first house when I was playing for the Denver Broncos. What a great place to live. And I still went home in the off season and lived in some tiny apartment back in Gainesville. So I have two regrets, and regret is a non-powerful emotion. And the two regrets, I could have been a better husband when I was married. I'm divorced now. I have regret about that. And I certainly could have done more in my professional career to give myself the better opportunity to be successful. So that's my message to kids out there is, have a little bit more foresight in some of the situations. And, with all the distractions that are out there, I don't know how college football players are able to focus on the important part of playing football these days with the NIL stuff and the easy escape route through the transfer portal if things don't go immediately right for you, all the distractions of social media. It really is amazing that there are kids out there that are able to be as successful as some of these guys that we had a chance to deal with today at Media Days.
Chris, let's expand further on that because I was going to go somewhere else, but you brought it up. What's your thoughts on the NIL and the transfer portal? It's obviously here to stay. They're going to have to do something with the NIL because the money's kind of outrageous when you're giving a kid from California that goes to Tennessee, you're promising him $8 million. There's a lot of things that can go on. There's going to be a lot of animosity in the locker room with some guys like, hey, I'm playing better than this guy, but this guy's getting the money. So where does all that come from? And then the transfer portal, I understand it. People have transferred forever, but it's just it's like I talked to Tom Moore the other day, and he was talking about it's going to kill college football because well, he said it's going to absolutely kill college football, son, because nobody wants to work for anything. And if they don't have to compete and they go somewhere else, it's going to kill NFL too. So what are your thoughts on those?
They can do that.
Yeah, he does it well. He's done it for a long time. But you're right, Kelly. And let's go back to NIL. When we talk about NIL, I think it's important that we say name, image, and likeness. All right, that's the intent of the rule. It's not supposed to be used as a recruiting inducement. All right, and that's happening far too frequently. One of the things you hear coaches talking an awful lot about now is roster tampering, back channeling with these street agents and family members and everything else to try to pick some of the other teams' stars away from their respective rosters is a problem. I think there needs to be some sort of national legislation that covers all of the states, so different schools within those different states don't have advantages or loopholes that they're able to work through. Biggest thing is just enforcement. Why don't we figure out the rules and enforce the rules? The NCAA is so at fault here for one, not having the foresight to see that this was coming, giving some earlier before it just became such a mess in the litigation side of things through the courts that they took their hand off the steering wheel completely because they're scared of that litigation. But I think there needs to be some sort of uniformity for the betterment of the game. And then I thought Kirby Smart said it best. It's like when you go through college, going through the hard times is an important part of maturing, not just what happens on the football field, but in class. I mean, it's the most growth that you'll ever have in your entire life. That's 3, 4, 5 year period of time, however long you're there. And the fact that there is an escape hatch that allows these guys, if things aren't going the way they want to just move on to somewhere else is doing them a disservice. You talked about not being mature in my life. How many of us would have maybe not stuck around if we had an opportunity to go somewhere else when things didn't go as well as we'd liked immediately? Yeah. I think it's common.
Absolutely. Every last one of us has had that thought.
Observations. Just talk a little bit about why you're there, like observations, and then an observation of the SEC Media Days, and then other than Nick Saban, who are you more impressed with the coaches? I know you just talked about Kirby Smart. Who was the most impressive guy so far? We got more tomorrow, but so far, who has been your most impressive guy?
I'll say this, it's been very different in a lot of different ways because I've watched some at the podium. We've had some sit in with us on television. We have some sit in with us on Sirius XM. To me, I guess what stands out to most, Kirby was impressive with how he came out. We knew he was going to be asked about, the issues with the speeding, and he was well prepared to take that head on with statistics. Every coach comes with a message, and I thought that he delivered his message very well. Looks very comfortable in the skin of now being the guy sitting on the throne of college football the way that he is. I go to Zach Arnett. Zach Arnett initially felt a little nervous, I think, in taking. What a weird situation too. Something unprecedented where your sitting head coach passes away, somebody that's beloved as what Mike Leach is, and then having to be thrust into that limelight. I thought he was very confident, came prepared in front of the media yesterday, and delivered his message about what his team was going to be like going forward. That's a sneaky team that returns a lot of experience, the most experienced quarterback in the conference, a lot of experience on the defense, the side of the ball that he's coached the last couple of years there in Starkville. So I was impressed with him. And one of my favorites who sat with us at SiriusXM on Monday, Eli Drinkwitz, he said his number one goal was to stay out of trouble. I don't like him being reserved like that. He did talk trash to me, Kelly. He told me we had a bet going that Dari and I would be able to hit a 95-mile-per-hour fastball. We went over to Nashville Sounds, their park. He told me that I was not going to be able to do it, and in fact, he was right. Then he texted me later on to rub that in, and I'm embarrassed about that. I'm a better athlete than that. The excuse I'll make is this: I don't like excuses, but they did give me a 32-inch bat. I'm not a 32-inch bat guy. Dari's a 32-inch bat guy. He got 5 in play. It was like a little tiny toothpick up there. I need at least 33, 34 inches for full plate coverage.
Did you say Dari got some in play and you didn't?
Yeah, it was embarrassing, bro. It was humbling. And then, then it became like,
I think I saw that video.
Aaron Murray went 0 for 7 on soft toss and then got up there and was able to hit some in play. Chris Childers, maybe the least fit media member here, was able to at least get one to play. Rick Neuheisel's like 65 and got one in play, and I whiffed on all 10 of them, Kelly. It was the most embarrassing athletic moment of my life.
The whiff.
Who was throwing to you guys? Was it
a
pitching machine, bro?
Oh, wow. And you did not hit it.
I did not. I barely fouled one off. I don't even know if it would have affected the flight of the ball. Probably would have ended up in the catcher's mitt anyway.
Well, look at George. Do you think George would have hit one? If we show you George's swing, he needs to take the Herm Edwards effect, and he needs to put putting on there instead of swinging a golf club in front of everybody.
Oh, whatever.
Do you guys play golf together?
No.
No,
we have played once, and apparently that was enough.
Kelly and I used to play together.
Kelly's good, isn't he?
Kelly's very good. Quarterbacks are good. Quarterback, for whatever reason, they got good temperament for golf. They got good eye-hand coordination.
They never get hit.
It's a frustrating game. The ball just sits there, and yet it's so hard to actually hit. I don't understand it. That's actually the genesis of the conversation about Dari and I getting into hitting a 95-mile-per-hour fastball. It's like, that is a hard skill, but hitting a golf ball just sitting there shouldn't be hard, and yet it is.
Hey, Kelly,
need to go play we need to hold on, George. We need to go play some golf, Chris. And the thing about it is, I've gotten better. So
I'm sure you
in
have.
my older age, I've gotten better.
And the problem when Kelly and I play together is we play fast. We got in trouble with Marcus Pollard, one of our other teammates, for leaving him behind. I still feel bad about that. He was just starting his golf career. We moved on without him, and he genuinely looked like somebody had licked his lollipop or something. Man, it was sad.
You brought George earlier.
Mm-hmm.
There are 3 things I think of with him. Number one, he introduced the forward pass to the SEC, sort of taught them, hey, you don't have to run on first down. Secondly, he was the first guy to make $1 million or more.
Mm-hmm.
And the third is the Citrus Bowl quote.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot spell citrus without UT.
Don't forget about FSU, Free Shoes University. I mean, he always had a zinger that he would come to media days with, and it was always very well thought out. Look, I love Coach Spurrier. Outside of my parents, there hadn't been a more impactful person on my life than what Coach Spurrier has been. He gave me an opportunity as a walk-on at Florida to do something that I dreamed about as a kid, revitalized my career in the NFL, getting a chance to go with him to Washington when we went to that franchise. But I think the thing that I love about team sports and football specifically is so much of it is about teaching about life. You know, it's a vehicle for life lessons, whether it's, goal setting, whether it's overcoming disappointment, whether it's perseverance, whether it's teamwork and trusting those around you. Like, so much of that has helped me in the rest of my life. And there's not a more competitive person that I've ever been around. He is on the Mount Rushmore of SEC football and college football. You look around this country and the way the game is played, a lot of what you're seeing today started with Coach Spurrier.
Yeah, absolutely.
He brought it to the SEC in 1990. A league that was dominated by 3 yards and a cloud of dust, with Georgia and Auburn and LSU all doing that forced them to go 4 and 5 wide receivers, forced them to have to throw the football more, and revolutionized the way that football has been played in this conference since.
Was he a trash talker besides what we see?
I don't even know if he was a trash. He is just genuinely the most confident person that I've ever been around. I mean, it loves to compete, whether it's football, whether it's golf, whether it's, pitching quarters. I mean, the guy is genuinely all about keeping score and making sure he's on the winning side. But sometimes I don't, not a filter there, I think. And it's not, I don't think it's trash talk as much as it is just genuinely brain to mouth coming out as he's, taking place in the competition.
He'd be a great sports talk show host. Shanahan was the other one you brought up that I want to ask you about. People forget this guy won back-to-back Super Bowls, and he revolutionized play fake one way, roll the other. Talk to me about him.
He was awesome, man. I loved him. Kyle Shanahan, his son, was when I was there, he was playing at Duke. He would come work out with us when we do our drills in the offseason, got to be good friends with him. He has taken the baton and run with it in terms of offensive ingenuity and the way that he calls plays. Look at that Shanahan tree. I mean, there are some impressive names that are head coaches and coordinators in the NFL now. And I just being around him, there's something about certain people you can feel the air that they put out there, and he's one of those guys. West Coast offense guys you talked about. They developed that maybe one of the best zone running teams that have ever been around. Alex Gibbs, who was the offensive line coach there, nobody executed backside cuts the way that they did. It was a controversial type of block that the defensive line wasn't all that smoked up about. But, for a while there, TD runs for 2,000 yards in 1 year. He goes down. Olandis Gary comes in and rushes for 1,000. Mike Davis comes in and does it. Like they were just able to plug guys in largely because of the scheme and the execution of that offensive line. And obviously when you run the ball like that play action pass, the boots, the nakeds become very difficult for defenses to defend.
Last thing I need to know, this is very important. Trash talking, Kelly Holcomb versus Peyton Manning. What's the best one you saw, and who got the best?
I wasn't there now. So I was there when Jim Harbaugh was our starting quarterback. And I'm going to tell a story about Kelly real quick, because Kelly brought up the fact that, I left and I should have been, more dedicated in the offseason. We were playing in Minnesota. I think it was the last game of either 96 or 97 season. Jim Harbaugh is the starter. He goes down. Kelly gets his number called and goes in. And I would say, and I hate talking about this, but probably he would self-admit that it was one of the worst games that he probably played in his life. And afterwards, he told me, man, I literally already had my car packed. I was ready to get back to Murfreesboro, and my mind was not there. So that to me, since he brought out some of my down moments, I'm going to throw that out there as well.
It's a good time to do that.
Yeah. Right, Kelly?
Appreciate it, Chris. Thanks, man. That was awesome. That brings up a lot of. I just remember John Randall. I think I had 15 plays, George, and I probably had 5 turnovers. That place was so loud. I couldn't hear anything. Everybody kept coming up and asking me. I was a rookie. They kept coming up and asking me, what was the call? What was the play call? What was it? And we had a key Wanda. Do you remember that, Chris? We had the key Wanda. And the Wanda linebacker came, but the ex-receiver, the split end, he did not hear me. So he didn't run it. So idiot boy here, instead of just throwing it away, I just throw it up. And the NFL is not like college. And John Randall, man, he was wearing me out with his mouth. He was like, hey, Holcomb, if you're going to keep giving it to us, we'll take it. And I had some choice words for him, but that was definitely not my finest day in the NFL. I can't believe after that game I actually made it as long as I did, because the commentator for the game was Jim Mora. And he became the coach after Lindy Infante got fired the next day. I actually nailed in the coffins for Lindy Infante. I felt really bad for that. And then we were able to go. Chris actually took me over to his house in St. Augustine, and I literally apologized to Lindy before he passed.
Chris, I got one
really
for you.
Bad.
What's your favorite part about being an analyst for the SEC Network?
People ask me all the time, but I work for ESPN, SEC Network's owned by ESPN, but they ask me all the time, do you want to continue to move up? When are you going to get a chance to do ESPN? I'd love the opportunity to do more in addition, but I don't want to leave the SEC Network. Like I grew up on SEC football. I grew up in Gainesville, a huge Gator fan. I grew up on Bo Jackson and Herschel Walker and some of these great names. I played in this league at the start of the SEC championship game, and it's just been a part of it for so long that I love getting to go deep on the 14, soon to be 16 teams in this league. I think the best part about it is covering something I'm so passionate about and know so well as a fan, as a player, and as a media member now. And then I think the other thing is the people that I work with. The folks in Charlotte, I go up there every Thursday night, fly home every Monday afternoon. They're 4 nights a week. It's a lot of travel during the fall, but it's doing it with people that I love. I miss Gene Chizik, who's a great friend, going back into the coaching business, but getting a chance to be with Dari, Peter, Alyssa, Takio, Benjamin. It's so much fun, and I think it's kind of almost unfair that I get paid to do something that I love so much, and watching a game I love and discussing it with people that I love doing that with.
George, the morning show is great. Is it with Peter?
With Peter Burns, yeah.
It's that's entertainment right there.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys saw, but I've been on a bad run with LSU Florida bets against him. Now 5 in a row, 4 football, 1 College World Series final bet. Had to walk through the airport with the full LSU baseball uniform. Thanks to Greg Stringfellow for sending that over to me. But the oddest part about that was that it wasn't. I heard multiple Go Tigers. I heard people asking me why I was wearing purple and gold. Nobody asked me why I was wearing a baseball uniform in an airport or on a plane. Like one of the flight attendants said, are you on your way to a game? I was like, no, I lost a bet. Like, it's not high school baseball where we're on the bus on the way to play, in another county. You can get dressed in the locker room if you're college.
Beautiful.
And the other thing in my mind was humbling. I was thinking myself as a player. People thought I was a player. They were thinking more of a manager. I forget that, I'm 50 years old now, and I may not be able to pull off the uni the way that I once did.
Yeah, tell me about it. Oh, that was good stuff with Chris Doering. He's terrific. He's a really good analyst, as all of you who have watched him can tell. After the break, our buddy Jeff Him is going to join us. We're going to talk a little bit of trade deadline. Billy will check the ticker to see what else is going on besides Justin Verlander to the Astros. Sal Frelick, the former Sound, tearing it up in Milwaukee. We'll talk with Jeff about that great move when we come back.
How am I going to get to work? My car's totaled.
Scholar, our team is making a call right now. We'll get you a rental car. Don't worry.
That's a relief.
Call us 24/7. We're here. We're going to help.
Year number 2 of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night was awesome. And the reason is really simple. I chose Strike and Spare, and they were amazing. They have great food, great bowling, and a staff that is truly ready to go the extra mile to help you. They have 5 family fun centers in the area to choose from. And for more info, go to strikeandspare.com or call them at 615-824-5685.
Convenience and value, 2 words that we expect when we do business. Our goal at JHA Company is to deliver just that, both to our school partners and to our customers. Whether you're purchasing photos, yearbooks, class jewelry, letter jackets, school spirit wear, or senior graduation products, we strive to make the experience easy, convenient, and cost-effective. Find out more at jhacompany.com or call 615-867-6345 for more information. JHA, one source, one company.
You can't see the sights without the sounds. From the crack of the bat to the roar of the crowd and everything in between, discover what Hit City has to offer. Spend your nights cheering on the Nashville Sounds at First Horizon Park with giveaways, fireworks shows, theme weekends, and more. Single game tickets are on sale now. Visit NashvilleSounds.com to claim your seat today.
Hello, this is Celeste Middleton, a State Farm agent in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. I want to help my neighbors and local businesses be proactive and assess their risk before something unexpected happens. We want you to have a thorough understanding of your coverages to have the best protection when you need it. We can create a personal price plan for you. Our team has over 70 years of experience helping people in Middle Tennessee. We have an awesome team with integrity and provide honest and prompt communication, and we love what we do and genuinely care about everyone we work with at our office. Give us a call at 615-895-2700, send us a message at celestemiddleton.com, or walk in at our office at 803 North Thompson Lane in Murfreesboro. We would love to earn your business.
We're back. Those of you watching this live, right before we went on the air, Justin Verlander went exactly where I thought he was going to, and that is back to the Astros. Astros giving up good prospects, and the likelihood, I haven't seen it, but the Mets will be picking up a good little chunk of Justin Verlander's salary. The Braves got Brad Hand, lefty reliever, who has a wicked curveball and a weird delivery. Billy, what else are you seeing?
The Brewers traded for reliever Andrew Chafin from the Diamondbacks, so I'm sure we'll get into that. A little bit of that with Jeff Hem. The Padres got Rich Hill and Ji-Man Choi from the Pirates, and the Blue Jays got a guy that we've had on our show before, Cardinals, Paul DeYoung.
Yes.
After Bo Bichette's injury, so they added a good bat there in Paul DeYoung. And then the Phillies, of course, within the last 20 minutes here, they added Tigers pitcher Michael Lorenzen, who was an all-star this year. So, Braves, your George, your Phillies picked up a pitcher.
Screw the Phillies.
So, but yeah, those are the big deals as of late here.
So it'll be interesting as they get the deadline is in about 30 minutes, whether the Braves get a starting pitcher, whether they really are of a burning desire to get a starting pitcher. I don't know. And a lot of it would revolve around their willingness to get rid of either Smith Shawver, I hope I've said his name correctly, 20-year-old who can really throw. The word was that a week ago that Lance Lynn was going to Atlanta. He lives in Nashville, by the way. That's not the way it worked out. He ended up going to the Dodgers. Anyway, all of that brings us to the play-by-play voice, and a very good one for the Nashville Sounds. Jeff Hem joins us from First Horizon Park, from his palatial suite where he calls the games. How are you?
George, I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. So let me ask this right up front. So trade deadline, Brewers make a deal. Do the minor league players talk about this stuff? And maybe some of them are saying, you know, if a trade gets me to another club that brings me up, any of them think like that?
I think all of them think like that, at least at some point this week or today or in the last couple of weeks as this deadline has become nearer. This is now the third year in a row the Sounds have been directly affected by the trade deadline, because just yesterday the parent club Brewers dealt a Sound in right-hand starting pitcher Justin Jarvis dealt to the Mets for Mark Canha, who was a Sound back when he was with the A's in 2015 and has now, of course, had been a Met. So and we saw three different guys get dealt who were Sounds at the time of the trade deadline in 2021. Last year, there were some call-ups directly related to what the Brewers did. So, yeah, I'd be floored if players aren't at least a little bit wondering what's going to all go down today or what was going to go down this week as the day has drawn near. Because, look, when you're at AAA, as great as Nashville is, as great as the Sounds ballpark is and the fans here, if you're a player, you want to be in the big leagues, understandably. So I'm sure they're wondering, will I get a call-up? Will I get traded? Will I get dealt to another team that is then going to call me up? All those things, I think, are on the table this week. And I think when it's over, if you're a player who's not in the big leagues after the trade deadline, I'm sure there's at least some initial disappointment. There's also probably a sense of I don't know if relief is the right word, but at least you can sort of like, all right, here's where I'm at. Here's where I'm probably going to stay in terms of organization. Doesn't mean you can't still get called up, but if you're a Sound who doesn't get dealt at the deadline, you're thinking, okay, I'm still with my current organization. Now my goal is to just keep my head down and keep trying to play well and get to the big leagues here if it's not going to happen somewhere else. And it's a cliche thing to say, but it's so true that anybody at AAA is, of course, playing for their current organization, but you're always playing for the other 29 teams too, because the way guys are scouted and the way performances are measured and people can see how you're doing, you just never know. We've seen a few different guys this year get unique news in the sense of something that they weren't expecting, maybe a trade and then a call up like Lucas Ursig, who ended up with the A's earlier this year. There's those behind the scenes conversations are always going on where a guy is trying to get to the big leagues. So even if it doesn't happen today at the deadline, there's still a lot to play for. And, the Brewers are a contending team. They're in a great spot in a fun divisional race. So there's a lot of motivation for any Sounds player with a couple of months left in this season to keep on going. And if you're not in the big leagues today, you truly could be there tomorrow. We've seen a lot of guys go up this year. There's always motivation at AAA. It's a fun time of year, even if what happens today doesn't directly affect you as a player. It doesn't mean that tomorrow can't have a different course.
So, Jeff, I guess it was, I'm trying to think, a week and a half ago. I wake up on a Sunday morning. Sports Center's lead thing is showing this meeting where Rick Sweet walks in and tells Sal Frelick in front of the rest of the team, you're going to Milwaukee. It was unbelievable. Did you happen to be in there when he did it?
I was not in there for it. I, of course, saw the video like a lot of other people did as it went viral over the next 24 hours after that. Rick is really good in those moments. First of all, those are not easy moments. It's fun moments, I think, as a manager, but not easy because you're trying to share big news like that in a dynamic way. You're trying not to tip your hand, and Rick is just so good at those moments of tricking a player or surprising a player, and he's done it a lot of different ways over the years. And the Brewers did a great job having the video ready and to catch the reaction. And I know that Rick personally likes to, if it's possible, have other players around when somebody's going to the big leagues, because like we were just talking about a moment ago with like disappointment of not being in the big leagues, you still have to have joy for the guy next to you if he's going, because I think there's a shared understanding from players of how hard it is to get there. So that if you're not going, but somebody else is, while it's, I'm sure, disappointing deep down that you're not going, you at least know what it means to the guy who is. And so to see some of the other players' reactions to a guy who's going to the big leagues makes it all the more special and memorable for Sal and for everybody who was part of it. So Rick did a great job with that. I did not know that call-up was coming when it happened. I had just had Sal on my pregame show the day before, and we're talking about how excited he was to be kind of fully back from his injury. He's so talented. You knew a call-up could come at any moment, but you're never really thinking it's going to be this day or that day or whenever it was. But man, did he have a debut, and has he really been a spark plug for the Brewers? And it's every bit of what we saw him do down here. I remember back in April, George, you were asking me about Sal. He's one of those guys that you notice over the course of a 9-inning game, even if he doesn't have 4 hits, he probably stole a base or he probably threw somebody out or made a great running catch. One of those guys that affects the guys around him, regardless of what the at-bats might look like, because he's just such a dynamic player.
Jeff, the part that caught me off guard, look, we always knew this guy is going to end up, he will get a call up at some point. So no surprise there. No surprise that he can fly. He absolutely can. No surprise that he would make some great catches in the outfield. He's done that everywhere he's ever been. But I see him pump a ball, and I think it was against the Cubs, into the second deck at, I don't know what they call it now. I always call it Miller Park in Milwaukee. He hit the second deck a couple of nights later, and I'm like, Dad gum. Wow.
Yeah. And he's only been in pro ball for 2 years. I mean, he was drafted in the first round in 2021. The power, I think, is only going to keep coming. I mean, I saw a similar evolution with Bryce Terang last year when he was a full-time Sound compared to the year before. Guys in their early 20s, of course, they're strong. They're only getting stronger. They're figuring out professional pitching more and more by the day. I don't think Sal's calling card is ever going to be the home run power. But as you saw with the example you were identifying, he can hit it a long way. The most impressive part of his offensive game for me is his bat-to-ball ability against any type of pitcher in any type of count. Like he's just one of those guys who you're floored when he strikes out because he's got such great discipline at the plate and ability against any type of pitcher to at least find a way to put it in play. And then he runs like a deer, so it's in his best interest to try to put that ball in play because he can probably beat it out. He's like I said, he's a game-changing type talent. So fun to watch, and just an amazing major league debut that he had that first night. And he's been very impressive these first few weeks. You know, eventually, big league teams and pitchers will start to figure him out a little bit, and then he'll have to make the adjustment, and so on and so forth, like it has been for other players for decades now. There will be a stretch where, because there is one for everybody, where the big league teams will get a little bit better handle on how to attack him. But he does not have a lot of weaknesses in his game because he can get the bat on the ball against just about anybody, whether they're throwing 103 or whether it's a breaking pitch on 0-2, whatever it is. Sal can find a way to make some contact and make good things happen.
Good for him. I'm excited for him. So
and he's done facing your Braves too, George. You don't have to worry about him now.
I had to sort of up in Milwaukee in that series, I had to sort of say, well, he is a Sound, so we're rooting for him.
Yeah.
But then last weekend, screw it. The Braves scored about 30 runs against the Brewers. They tore into their pitching staff pretty good.
You can enjoy a different former Sound in Matt Olson, and you're going to enjoy him for a decade.
Oh, my God.
How about the year he's having, man? How about that?
I assumed that it was Acuna who will be the most valuable player in the National League, but I'm starting to wonder if the two of them split votes. And is there a third out there that sneaks in around the corner of them?
Yeah, that's interesting. I had not thought of it that way. I was just thinking more that Matt Olson's making a case for it to be him. Man, he was such a fun Sound to watch too when he was with Oakland, and you just, some of these guys, like you said with Sal, like you knew 5 years ago that Matt Olson was going to get to the big leagues, but the impact that he's had, and now to be back home in Georgia, you know, like I've told people, I am not a Braves follower near the way you are, but I'm a fan of Matt Olson. Right. But I'm a fan of Matt Olson because I saw him put in the work down here and how talented he was even then, how humble he is. Man, is he a good dude off the field? So I enjoy Braves baseball right now, and Matt Olson alone, Sean Murphy too. It's just fun when you get to see guys, you know it from your days with the Sounds, George. You see the work guys put in the minor leagues. Wherever they go as big leaguers, they're easy to root for because you know how hard they worked to try to get there. And to see Matt not only being the player he is now, but becoming a superstar is really cool. So
one of the funniest stories I've got, Jeff, was 22, maybe 23-year-old Buck Showalter, furious because the Yankees had blocked him and a number of Sounds because Steinbrenner was out signing all these free agents. And one day Buck unloaded to me. And then I looked 15 years later, And Mr. Steinbrenner's introducing him as the manager. And I'm like, whoa, hold on a second. You need to know what happened 15 years ago.
Water
Now,
under the bridge. Water under the bridge.
Okay, you all have been drawing like crazy. You start a 6-game homestand tonight. Give me a few highlights of what's going on.
Well, it's, we've got Durham in town against the Sounds, and from a baseball standpoint, you're thinking Brewers and Rays and contending teams, and both teams have been affected by the trade deadline. The Rays making the deal they made with Cleveland becomes interesting because a guy that had been with Durham, Kyle Manzardo, went to the Guardians the other way in that trade, and Jarvis from the Sounds dealt in the Mark Canha trade. So AAA always interesting these first couple of days of August because there's trickle down from the trade deadline beyond what happens today. But man, tonight is critical for the Brewers because it's going to feel like they've traded for an ace if they can get one of their aces back. And Brandon Woodruff pitches tonight here on Major League rehab assignment. They've been without him for 3 months, George. He made 2 starts back in April and had some shoulder problems. Even though he was pitching well results-wise in the big leagues, the shoulder wasn't quite right. He had been shut down for a while. He had 2 outings at High A, Wisconsin, so that he could be geographically close to Milwaukee in between the outings. And now his rehab assignment has been transferred here to the Sounds, which tells you they feel like he's close. He'll probably go about 5 innings or so tonight because he went 4 innings in his last outing with Wisconsin the other day. He might have just this one with the Sounds. He might have another one this weekend. But when you talk about the Brewers these last few years, you've been talking about Corbin Burns, Freddie Peralta, and Brandon Woodruff. And Woodruff, they've been without for a while now, and yet they've been able to stay in that race with the Reds atop the NL Central. So for the Brewers to get Woodruff back, a lot of their eyes will be on this Sounds game tonight with how he does. They've also got third baseman and outfielder Brian Anderson here starting a rehab assignment tonight with the Sounds, who's had a really good year for them after they picked him up from the Marlins going into this year. So 2 key Brewers pieces on trade deadline day are actually in the Sounds lineup tonight. So you got that going on from a baseball standpoint. Off the field, we've got a Tito's Tail Wagon Tuesday tonight where fans can bring their dog to the ballpark. We got fireworks on Friday. Throwback Thursday coming up again on Thursday night. Always an interesting time of year with school getting back into session, and yet the fans will still flock to this place this week because it's just such a fun environment to be part of, and we're looking forward to kicking off the homestand tonight.
Jeff, thanks for doing this. I'll see you out there later tonight.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Jeff Him, Sounds play-by-play voice, joining us. Great stuff. Woodruff is a big key to Milwaukee. They got to get him back healthy in this battle they've got going on with the Reds and maybe the Cubs. Stick around. After the break, we'll check the ticker, see if there are any more trades that have gone down. We'll have Plaster's Bet of the Day, plenty more. I intend to make you money.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
For over 35 years, Wilson Bank and Trust has been committed to providing customized banking solutions to help individuals, families, and businesses in Tennessee achieve their goals. As your full-service community bank, we are proud to offer loans with competitive rates, local decision-making, and fast, friendly service from our experienced lenders. No matter where you are on your financial journey, Wilson Bank and Trust is ready to help you take the next step. Visit your nearest Wilson Bank and Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Family owned and operated for more than 2 decades, Alaco Fine Wood Floors is Nashville and Middle Tennessee's choice for premium quality hardwood floors. Since 1995, Jimmy Alaco and his army of employees have embodied the approach of taking pride in one's craft and providing superior customer service, growing from a one-man shop to a team of 23 professionals who share the founder's passion for quality craftsmanship and customer satisfaction. If you are interested in contacting them, you can find their headquarters at 2505 Winford Avenue in Berry Hill, or give them a call at 615-356-0303. Again, that's 615-356-0303, or log on to alacofinewoodfloors.com. Alaco Fine Wood Floors, serving Middle Tennessee's hardwood flooring needs since 1995.
At Baird, we have a different slant on global financial advice. That global capabilities mean nothing without personal attention. We have investor relationships in 35 countries and market expertise in over 40 industry verticals, all to help make the most important investment connections of all, yours. Global financial advice with a client-first approach. It's the shape of things to come. Discover the Baird difference at bairdifference.com.
Hey, thank you for meeting with me today. The insurance company has made an offer.
Already? Wow.
They've offered you the entire policy.
Thank you, Blair.
You're so welcome.
Final segment on a Tuesday, wrapping it up with Plaster's Bet of the Day, brought to you by Bart Durham Injury Law. Give them a call at 615-242-9000 or log on to their website. That's bartdurham.com. All right, let's check out what happened yesterday. Tampa Bay Devil Rays. They're not called the Devil Rays anymore.
Suck.
But the Yankees still suck, George.
They do. They do, and I kind of like it.
You're going to keep riding their coattails on the road to being eliminated from the playoffs?
Well, they're still with the 3 wild cards available. I mean, they've still got a shot, but they don't score any runs, and it's clear that they're not at Tampa's level. They're not at Baltimore's level. I'll be real curious when today's over. Have the Yankees really done anything at the trade deadline?
Yeah, and
Brian Cashman's going to hear it.
Danny talked about, I think, a couple of visits ago where, you want to make moves, you want to be aggressive, but you also don't want to ruin anything for you in the future down the road and sort of, overrate your chances, So obviously they still have a chance, but what do they do before what? We got 15 minutes left here?
That's 10? Something like that.
Okay.
By the way, they cheat on the deadline.
Oh,
they've always
every
cheated.
year.
So this just in. Take a look at where I'm going tonight. Okay.
Oh,
duh. So it's more than just my love of the Braves. The Braves are really good. They got nothing done last night against the Angels in I think it was a 5-1 loss. If you look, they have had very few situations this year where offensively they got held down 2 days in a row. I don't think they get held down tonight. I'm taking the Bravos.
I like how Butch is making these graphics -1.5 and -120.
Well, it's because I gave it to him.
Oh, that's how you gave it to him?
That's how I gave it to him.
Okay.
So let me kind of let people in on a couple of things. Last week we had an announcement that Terry McCormick's Daily Titans Update would be returning. Tomorrow we will have another broadcast announcement that I think you're going to enjoy, and I think it's going to get your attention. Also tomorrow, Sam Kahn, who covers the Texas Longhorns. I was shocked at how many Texas writers were at SEC football media days. I guess it does just mean more. Liz Allison will join us. We'll get the final preparations for this weekend's Music City Grand Prix. And who knows, something else may happen on the college level that forces us to react. So here's what I ask you to do. Join us tomorrow for the show, same time, same place, for Billy Derrick and for Kelly Holcomb. And God bless his son who had to drive down with him to Troy. I can't think of anything more miserable. Can you?
No.
See you tomorrow.